Jack Beeson can't be here tonight. She had very serious finger surgery on Tuesday. She seems to be doing okay, but it's quite serious because of the pain medication. She's not able to be here. But we thank her for her donation to fund part of our event tonight. So we're very grateful. And we see old friends and new, some people here who knew Jack and knew his music, some who you've never heard a note of his music. I want to welcome all of you, and I know some of you have had long-standing relationships with him, so I hope we get to speak after. In the program, there's a spot where it says, a conversation with Miranda. I'm not going to be doing that. We'll let her rest. But I'll say a few words, perhaps a funny story, if I can think of one. And I'd like to thank Christine for collaborating on our program. It's been a real adventure getting to know Leda. So now we enter the world of Leda. Thank you.
Brown and bright as an agate, mountain cool, Evrotas singing slips from pool to pool. Down rocky gullies, through cavernous pines and chestnut groves, down where the terraced vines and gardens overhang, through valleys gray with olive trees, into a soundless bay of the Aegean. Silent and asleep lie those pools now, but where they dream most deep, men sometimes see ripples of shining hair, and the young grace of bodies pale and bare, shimmering far down, the ghost these mirrors hold of all the beauty they beheld of old. White limbs and heavenly eyes, and the hair's river of gold, for once these banks were peopled. Spartan girls loosened here their maiden girdles and their curls. Subtly moving grace, Leda, the fairest of our mortal race. When Leda with her maidens to the shore of bright Evrotas came, to escape the heat of summer noon in waters coolly sweet, they sat them down under an old fir tree to rest, and to the laughing melody of their sweet speech the rivers rippling bore a liquid burden, while the sun did pour pure color out of heaven upon the earth. Within the fir trees round of unpursed shade, the maidens sat with laughter and talked and played. And one did sing a ballad of some far-off Spartan king, who took a wife, but left her well away, slain by his foes upon their wedding day. Leda sighed. Love to me has brought nothing but pain in a world of shameful thought. When they say that love is sweet, the poets did lie. 'Tis but a trick to catch poor maidens by. What are their boasted pleasures? I am queen to the most royal king the world has seen. Therefore I should, if any woman might, know at its full that exquisite delight. Yet these few days since I was made a wife have held more bitterness than all my life. While I was yet a child, the great bright tears slipped through her lashes. Oh, my childish years, years that were all my own, too sadly few, when I was happy, and yet never knew how happy till today. Her maidens came about her as she wept, whispering her name. I am queen, she cried, but had forgotten it a while. Undress me, we would bathe ourselves. The tunic falls about her feet and steps from the crocus folds of drapery, dazzlingly naked into the warm sun. God-like she stood, then broke into a run, leaping and laughing in the light. At last, with cheeks afire and heaving flank, she checked her race and on the river's bank stood looking down at her own echoed shape. In sleep the long intolerable noon, but heedless Morpheus still withheld his boon, and Jove upon his silk pavilioned bed tossed wrathful and awake. His fevered head swarmed with 1,000 fancies, which forecast delights to be or savored pleasures past. O love and idleness, how celibate he felt! Satin imaged his skin was sleek, and supply warm against his lips and cheek. The scent of a young body seemed to float faintly about him, close and yet remote. His dream had melted in his bed alone. Jove sweating lay and moaned and longed in vain to still the pulses of his burning pain. thrust forth his head into an Olympian ether. One fierce frown rifted the clouds, and he was looking down into a gulf of azure calm. There lay the world, down through the chasmed blue, stretched out from edge to edge unto his view. Desire lends sharpness to his searching eye. Over the world he focused, passions fly. Many a thousand had he looked upon, thousands of mortals young and old, but none virgin or young Ephebus, or the flower of womanhood called in its full-blown hour, could please the thunderer's sight, or touch his mind. The longed-for loveliness was yet to find. Had beauty fled, and was there nothing fair under the moon? The fury of despair raged in the breast of heaven's almighty Lord. He gnashed his foamy teeth, and rolled and roared in bull-like agony. Then a great calm descended upon him. Cool and healing balm touched his immortal fury. He had spied young Leda where she stood, poised on the riverside. Jove's heart held but one thought. He must possess that perfect form or die. Possess or die. Have her he must. The teasel-fingered burr sticks not so fast in wild beasts' tangled fur as the insistent longing in the soul of mighty Jove. Gods, men, earth, heaven, the whole vast universe was blotted from his thought, and naught remained but Leda's laughter, naught but Leda's eyes. His spirit worked. How should he gain his end with most deliciousness? What better friend, what counselor more subtle could he find than lovely Aphrodite, ever kind to hapless lovers? To Paphos then. His will and act were one, and straight invisible, he stood in Paphos, breathing the languid air by Aphrodite's couch. Oh, heavenly fair she was, and smooth and marvelously young. On Tyrian silk she lay, and purple hung about her bed in folds of fluted life and shadow, dark as wine. A lightning shone suddenly through the room. She was aware of some terrible presence looming there, and it took shape. Huge limbs, whose every line symbol was of power and strength divine. And it was Jove. Daughter, I come, he said, for counsel in a case that touches me close to thy very life. And he straightway told her of all his restlessness that day, and of his sight of Leda, and how great was his desire. And so in close debate sat the two gods, planning their advance, while she was to be their victim, joyously laughed like a child. Stretched all her length, arms under her head she lay, in the deep grass, while the sun kissed away the drops that sleeked her skin. A numbing trance came gradually over her, as though flake after downy feathered flake of snow had muffled all her senses, drifting deep and warm and quiet. From this all but sleep she started into life again. The sky was full of a strange tumult suddenly, beating of mighty wings in shrill-voiced fear, and the hoarse scream of rapine following near. A splendid swan with outstretched neck and wing, spread fathom wide and closely following. An eagle, tawny and black. This godlike pair, father and daughter, swan and eagle, circled and swooped through the calm of upper air. For the 20th time the furious eagle stooped to miss and climb a mounting spiral into the height again. And then in turn Jove, like a star unsphered a stone, dropped from the vaults of heaven, a javelin thrown, swooped upon his prey. Down, down he came, and through his plumes with a noise of wind-blown flame, loud roared in the air. From Leda's lips a cry broke, and she hid her face. She could not see him die, her lovely hapless swan. Ah, had she heard, even as the eagle hurtled past the word, that treacherous pair exchanged. Outstretching his long neck, rigid and straight, aimed at where Leda on the bank waited, with open arms and kind uplifted eyes, and voice of tender pity, down he flies. Nearer, nearer, terribly swift he spied directly at the queen. Then widely spread, resisting wing, that great swan fluttered slowly down to rest, and sweet security on Leda's breast. And the sky was void over that dazzling pair, whose different grace and union was a birth of unimagined beauty on the earth. Young Leda lay, and to her side did press the swan's proud, arching, opulent loveliness, stroking the snow-soft plumage of his breast. Closer he nestled, mingling with the slim austerity of virginal flank and limb, his curved and florid beauty, till she felt that downy warmth strike through her flesh and melt the bones and marrow of her strength away. And though some hand had plucked the aching strings of life itself, the swan shook slowly free the folded glory of his wings, and made a white-walled tent of soft and luminous shade to be her veil and keep her from the shame of naked light and the sun's noonday flame. Hushed lay the earth and the wide, careless sky. Then one sharp sound that might have been a cry of utmost pleasure or of utmost pain broke sobbing forth. And all was still again.
You made it. Miranda?
Oh my God.
You can stay seated there. It's great to see you.
Thank you. That was so beautiful. And Martha, that's such a gorgeous aria.
So everyone, this is Miranda Beeson, Jack and Nora's daughter, who
Thank you.
had surgery Tuesday. You said you'd make it. And I was like,
I have a little bit of Jack's daughter. I have a lot of grit. I was really sad that I lived 4 Riverside Drive, and I just thought I can't stand it.
Well, you look
So I'm
fantastic.
in my sweats and my coat, but I'm here.
And how was your evaluation today?
Oh, it's getting there.
Okay.
It's like a musician's nightmare. I'm a poet. Is that any better? Do you want to talk or do you want to keep going? Or what would you like to do?
Well, now it's impromptu, but you're here. We just need some drinks or something. Is there anything you wanted to?
I don't know. Or you can just keep playing and
Okay.
we can cut the interview. It's up to
Okay.
you.
Or I can come back to you.
You want to come back at the end?
Okay. And by the way, after our show, please come upstairs to the newly renovated first floor for some cake. I saw the cake earlier. I didn't try it.
It was all the text about the cake that made me come.
Well, there you go. There you go. So I just want to, I'll say just a couple of little stories and I'll play the sonata. One of the stories is about the sonata. The tango that I played was from this operina called Practice in the Art of Elocution. As for singer and pianist, and it's acting. You're in a scene, you're in a rehearsal. And in his stage direction, it says the pianist clips these clippings from Sioux City and Sioux Falls and all these places that these people toured. And it's reviews and all of this. So after a while, she's singing these songs, and I was like, well, this pianist gets bored from doing this. And doing these clippings is sort of getting to me. I wouldn't be doing this. But what if I had a flask in my coat pocket, and while she's going on about elocution and everything, I'm sort of sipping at the flask. And Jack was very open. He came when we did a run-through of it before we played it. And he was very open to that. I said, I just am a little bored with your stage director. He said, fine, tell me what you did. So that was the first time. So the second time we performed it, I said, let's up the ante. I'm gonna fall off the bench at a certain point. So we did that. It was so much fun. I can't even tell you. So then after, I knew it had succeeded because he came up and he said, are you okay? Like these darn benches. And I said, voila. I said that was all acting. Oh, okay. It was good. So very, very open spirit. I'm about to play the Fifth Sonata, which is a wonderful piece that I said in the notes was revised and premiered by the great John Kirkpatrick, who most of us know through his relationship with Charles Ives, particularly the Concord Sonata. And in his way of studying a piece, he would copy the piece out in his hand, something I just can't imagine doing, and with the meticulous detail, fingering and all of this. When this piece finally got to be published, it took a long time, back when they were doing those plates, it wasn't on Sibelius' program. The publisher, the company, went out of business, and they were melting all these plates to make money and so forth, so his sonata went melted away, and I think it was Theodore Presser, if I'm not mistaken. They were interested in it, and he said, wait a minute, we do have a copy of John Kirkpatrick's hand. And so Jack hand-delivered it. He didn't want to take any chances. And that's the published version. So it's a very nice sort of story of a pianist who collaborated with him, gave him suggestions, and he wrote them out. And it ends up being the one that we used to play this sonata from the 40s. The fifth of 4 sonatas, only 2 or 2.5 were published. So let's hear it. Thank you all. And I didn't fall off the bench. So that was good. So please join us if you can upstairs and let the party continue. Maybe Miranda can tell us more stories upstairs.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a little hot in here, so.
Are you recording it?
Yes,
Yeah, but I'll tell lots of stories.
okay.
That last piece was very Jack.
Yeah,
I haven't
yeah,
heard it in a long time. Sort of like his gnarliness,
yeah,
and then that nod to the song, the sort of the Midwestern
the girl I left
song
behind me.
that he popped in there.
Right, yeah.
Even though he knew the beast and never went back again.
All right, come on up.
That's
Hi, Mom.